on the committee is, there's a lot of young people that had never seen Drew Pearson play, and older ones that did but didn't like the Cowboys because of the arrogance that they said we showed.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And Kiner Falefa shoots this one in the air, out to right field. Piscotty's back, and that one is gone. Kiner Falefa with his first home run of the season, and he's given the Rangers the 3-2 lead.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
He's got the rock. Left side. Love it. Bounces it outside. Oh, I love it, John. He does for the pylon. Touchdown, Baylor.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
From the 2. He slips, gives it to Elliott, works his way towards the end zone. Touchdown.
Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Well, as we speak, Baylor football releasing, at least right now, a handful of their single digits from 0 to 9, and 3 players have had their jersey number released. This is something that started under Matt Rhoades, continues with Dave Aranda, about the players, the leaders. Of course, offensive linemen excluded from this because they're always excluded from everything. You cannot be a single digit if you're on the offensive line. You must be, 50 to 79. Of course, tight ends are in the 80s. They can be 0 single digits as well. Go ahead and give them out, Craig. The 3 single-digit players so far.
So far, and this was something I was actually going to ask Aranda about on Saturday, and just the timing of the press conference, I never felt like there was a good time to kind of interject with that question because so much of it was really X's and O's. So I didn't get around to asking it and just figured, hey, I'll do it the next time, which is tomorrow. But they're dropping them today, so that answers that question, that yes, the single digits tradition will continue on, and the 3 players so far that have been named, starting with number 0, because this year the number 0 is allowed to be worn. Number 0 will be wide receiver R.J. Sneed. Number 1 will be running back Treston Ebner. And number 2 has been announced just now, and that is going to be linebacker Terrell Bernard. So R.J. Sneed, Treston Ebner, and Terrell Bernard, 0 through 2, announced so far.
Not surprised by any of those 3, Paul. We've heard great things about all of them. We know Terrell Bernard's a preseason All-American selection. Ebner's explosive. And obviously, R.J. Sneed is a major factor. We heard Dave Aranda bring him up quite a bit.
Yeah, and R.J. Sneed's also one of those guys who you can see leadership just kind of in just the way he carries himself. I don't know as much about Treston Ebner. We haven't really, in his couple years here, we haven't really gotten to see him all that much, but at least outside of just watching him play. But Terrell Bernard is clearly the leader on the defense, and you can hear that by the media session we had with him last week. You can tell that this is his unit right now.
William Bradley King, Baylor outside linebacker, that jack position. Also, Connor Galvin, left tackle, met with the media today. We'll have a couple of those comments here in just a second. We'll also have Brian Bell and Robert Rubel, head coaches at China Spring and Robinson. Baylor AD Mack Rhoades. Ryan Resch, who used to be a GA, a graduate assistant under Scott Drew at Baylor men's basketball, is now director of basketball strategy with the Suns. He'll join us at 4:45. David Hellman and John McClain in the 5 o'clock hour with many things, Cowboys and NFL. There's always the Earl Thomas, not watch. I don't think it's a watch, but that's, of course, smoke out there on what the Cowboys possibly do with him.
They've announced a couple more, and guess who's a single digit this year?
Charlie Brewer.
Charlie Brewer is going to be wearing number 5. So Charlie Brewer, and they skipped over 3 and 4. So I wonder if maybe they're not filling them all out, because that was something that Rule always said, was that you can have up to 9 guys.
Yeah.
Now you can have 10 because the number 0 is involved, but they wouldn't necessarily, do it that way. They wouldn't just fill guys with single digits just to fill guys with single digits. And so it's interesting they've skipped over a couple numbers, and I'm just curious, thinking out loud, if that means anything. But, yeah, Charlie Brewer will be wearing the number 5 this year.
Huh.
Very nice.
It's going to be weird to see.
A lot of people didn't think he'd ever change numbers, even if he got voted single digit. But there you have your answer. He looks pretty good in it, too. I mean, the 0 on R.J. Sneed looks really nice as well. That's kind of a weird number to be seeing, but that does look cool. And, I think the guys so far chosen, Ebner, the things they said about him, I think he's going to be dynamic in this offense if he can just stay healthy. Charlie Brewer, same thing. Obviously, all these guys are a part of that original recruiting class for the most part so far. R.J. Sneed was one of your better receivers last year behind Mims and Thornton, and I think he'll be one of your top 2 guys this year. And then Bernard, I mean, that's obvious right there.
So for the 10, Charlie Brewer won 12, right, all throughout his career. And now he'll wear the jersey number 5. And, of course, another guy that Aranda has raved about, as others have throughout the last few months. So William Bradley King, huge addition. I know that Dylan Doyle, among some others, but William Bradley King is a disruptive pass rusher. Baylor had one of the best in the country in James Lynch. One of the absolute best in the country last year was defensive lineman James Lynch. He met with the media earlier today. And one of the things about what he does is what?
Get to the passer.
It disrupts people, right? And they need that. Who else, if he wasn't there, they got a lot of these guys that they're kind of young and raw, but who would be the man who would just be the most disruptive player if it wasn't for William Bradley King on campus?
In the pass rush, I mean, I guess you'd have to say somebody like Gabe Hall, but I don't really know. I mean, that defensive front was pretty sacrosanct last year, and that was the guys who really did it most of the time.
Maybe Terrell Bernard on a blitz or something like that, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you listen to Aranda the other day, Terrell Bernard's playing weak side linebacker for a reason. He's not playing middle because of what Dylan Doyle can do in the middle, but also because it frees up Terrell Bernard to rush the passer and to cover receivers more and skill guys more and use his athleticism. So, I mean, I think they're moving him there because it's just a more natural position for him, and that's where he was before the injury to Clay Johnston last year, so it just makes sense now that they've got a guy like Doyle. But, yeah, I mean, I think Terrell Bernard's going to have to be one of those guys. I mean, they mentioned a couple of D linemen today, which is encouraging, and then again not, because more your blitzers are going to be your linebackers and those guys. So I think it's a remain-to-be-seen thing, quite frankly, right now, and I think you're going to have a lot of different guys that are going to be going after the passer.
So here's William Bradley King when I asked about what he does best. You are obviously very disruptive. What is it like knowing going into a game or once the game begins when you seem to be in a rhythm where you can disrupt an entire offense because of what you do off the edge? What's that feeling like to you?
You know, that's why we play the game, you know, or play defensive end, defensive line, you know, to be the most disruptive player on the field, you know. And for teams to, you know, notice that, you know, it's an honor, you know, but that's when the, you know, the mental toughness and, you know, when you really have to think on the field to, you know, to keep being disruptive because, you know, they're going to try to stop you.
When you see Coach Aranda and he's talking defense, he's kind of a quiet, deep-thinking guy, but when he gets in front of whatever it is that he's showing you, what's he like? What's it like to watch him when he wants to talk defense?
Just talking to Aranda, he kind of puts me in a state of mind of, you know, where I would want to be, like, during game time. You know, he's just calm. You know, he always keeps his composure. And, you know, he's just a stand-up guy. Like, you know, I love everything about him. And, you know, he's like his coaching style is very different, but I feel like it's even more understanding.
So that's William Bradley King, who came in from Arkansas State, and he could have gone pretty much anywhere, and he ends up at Baylor. Now, that's the jack position. He mentioned, you know what I heard? I heard Ashton Logan's name again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Heard a couple of names that we've heard through some of the media sessions we've had. Ashton Logan's one of the assistant coaches told me, hey, watch for him. Watch for him. And it's time, right? That's what you have to. You have to come through the system.
Well, I mean, he's running out of eligibility. So, yeah, I mean, if he's going to turn it on these last couple years of the years to turn it on, I mean, he's been basically completely off of the radar outside of special teams and maybe a few reps here and there. But, I mean, no, he's had little to no impact so far. And, it was good to hear him at least being brought up and mentioned because that hasn't always been the case. It's always kind of been just sort of in passing of like, oh, yeah, well, he's done some stuff too. You know,
John Lovett, number 7.
Yeah.
Well, that's
what his number was last year.
He's had it for 3 years.
Right.
So, I mean, he's been a single digit since Rule arrived.
Imagine what it means when you come out of the Northeast and you come into Texas and you play at Baylor and you had an impact immediately with a single digit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it says a lot about him. And it would say, I would think I'd be more surprised if he didn't get number 7 again. That would say, like, man, somebody must have checked out. But he's
2 of the running backs, a quarterback, a linebacker, and, 2 linebackers.
I mean, this is basically Rule's first recruiting class. I mean, look at it. It's
Wow.
Snead, it's Ebner, it's Brewer, it's Lovett. I mean, you know, outside of some of those offensive and defensive linemen that he got, I mean, these are basically all Rule recruits. Bernard was a Bryles guy, right? Because he redshirted, and so, he's a redshirt junior. So Bernard was that last Bryles class. But outside of him, and he became a Matt Rule guy pretty quick, obviously. These are all those guys that we were watching this staff throw together in a semi-organized way. Thanks, Fran Brown once told me when we had one of those athletic get-togethers that when they first arrived, one of the ways he found out how to identify players and find information, he was reading Dave Campbell's Texas Football. That's how they were recruiting, partly, was they were going through Dave Campbell's Texas Football to try and find players. That's what Fran Brown said to me. So, all these guys were part of that first recruiting class, so it's pretty special to see them now having matured and earning these single digits, although in the case of Lovett, as we mentioned, he's done that now since he arrived.
If you go online to BaylorBears.com and go to the football roster, there's no single digits. Everybody's like number 11 on up, and now Lovett on the roster is 27. Of course, he'll now change back to 3 or 7 for the 3rd consecutive year. Now, also on William Bradley King.
According to Brian Etheridge, by the way, Bernard was Rule. Last Bryles were Atkinson and Tejada.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Bernard was Rule. Yeah, thanks, Brian. I was talking. I wasn't sure on that, but I'm glad you clarified.
So Lovett gets 7. They're missing 6 and 3 and 4, and of course up until 8, 9. And also
they're missing 2, 3. Are they missing 2?
They're missing 3
Terrell
and 4
Bernard's
and
2.
6 and 8 right now. And I guess number 9. We'll get to that as it comes down. That's kind of neat little twist we didn't know was available. Now also, Paul, this next one with William Bradley King on winning.
Yes, this is keeping the winning tradition.
What they started a couple of years ago, but really actually took to another level last year.
You know, we are all on a pursuit for greatness. You know, we have a lot to live up to, you know, because of the guys from last season. But just every day, you know, we take coaching and you know, individual and, you know, everything with a grain of salt, you know. I really love the guys that I'm around because, you know, we're all focused on the same thing. And, you know, that's to be, you know, Big 12 champions, you know, national champions, you know, and to, you know, keep the tradition going, you know, win the tradition going.
So that's William Bradley King. Good to hear from him, and good to hear a lot of what he has to say. Also, Connor Galvin on the offensive line chemistry here coming up in a moment. So are we underrating who they are in a way? We don't know, right? Isn't that why? If we had seen any kind of evidence with what?
Yeah, we don't know how they're going to take to the new
Why is it
systems.
that I'm usually one of those glass half full people, but when it comes to things like this, I'm usually glass half empty.
Well, I think how I assessed it. I was just at AT&T for an hour talking to Jeffrey, who was great in helping me out. He said, how do you think Baylor's going to be? And I said, look, I think they're going to be good. I don't know if they're going to be great like they were last year. Last year was a great season for them. They were fantastic. I don't know if they're going to be there because of everything that's happened, but I do know that they have talented players. So I know that more often than not, they're probably going to win the game, but that might wind up being where I thought this season was going to be 8-4 because you had a couple non-conference games in there you'd win. They might be 6-4. And to me, that's the same thing.
I mean, I don't know what your trying to base this off of, because I don't know that anybody has real expectations for this year. I mean, how could you possibly be walking into this year just thinking purely football like we normally would be of, hey, we lost some defensive starters, but we got this first-year head coach. There's all those things you normally take into account, but, I mean, everything else that's also taken place on top of that, from the lack of time in the spring to now kind of in some ways not rushing, but also rushing to try and get everything organized for the season. I mean, I just think it's going to be funky and fluky and weird and strange as they move along through this thing. I don't think it's going to be normal, so I don't think, just from my standpoint, it's all that productive to just kind of compare it to a normal season, if you know what I mean. I think they could go out and win a national championship for all we know under these circumstances, and they could also just be down the middle, kind of a middle-of-the-road type of team. I expect them to be better than that because, I mean, you look at that offense and all of the seniors they have back. I mean, there's no reason now with Fedora leading the way for them to not be highly productive there. Defensively, yeah, they replaced a lot, but a lot of guys played last year. They just weren't necessarily starters. I do think that up front there's a lot of work to be done, but, I mean, the linebackers in the secondary have gotten a lot of praise, so I don't worry too much about them. So, I mean, there's answers to be had on the lines. But that's been the case even when Rule was here, So.
Yeah, no, there were. And the offensive line is still the unknown. And Aranda said it's going to get ugly before it gets better. Bradley King also mentioned 2 Temple guys, not just Ashton Logan, but also T.J. Franklin. We mentioned Gabe Hall as pass rush disruptors. Feels like the Jack group is strong, all focused on the same goals. Now let's get to some COVID news. Baylor had a really positive week. New cases since last week. Two.
Both asymptomatic, I believe.
And new cases are from the multiple sports. And again, some of these we don't know if they're on campus or not. They had a couple of weeks where it flared up a little bit. Mack Rhoades joins us in an hour. Meanwhile, Lincoln Riley won't say which position group it is, but says he had one group essentially wiped out, all but one by a COVID test. It's a position group that needs multiple guys on the field together. 8 or 9 of their quarantined players back today. 17 players were quarantined prior to that. We're definitely under 10 active cases. Multiple could be wide receivers, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, and defensive backs.
Could be anybody.
Yeah.
And they just had a big recruiting weekend where nobody is doing recruiting on campus, but the parents of the recruits, in particular, their quarterback commit, Caleb Williams, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
They organized like an unofficial recruiting weekend, and so on the same weekend that they bring all these kids in town from all over the place, which I get it, but then again, it's probably not the smartest thing to do. You're also announcing that you've had a little bit of it going around, so I don't know how smart that is. And Lincoln Riley's maybe been one of the smartest guys in the room with how they've dealt with this at Oklahoma. They were the people that were being championed, and they had no tests. Remember, no positives for like the first 4 weeks or something like that.
And then they let them leave.
And then they had some guys that went out of town and all of that, but. Yeah, they're dealing with it like everybody else.
Couple of quick notes. Texas Tech reported 21 active cases within its football program today. Also, they'll practice this afternoon without them. Not sure exactly how many of the positives required a stoppage of anything within a program.
And that's what I'm saying with the season. Like, how can you think it's going to be normal when you could have a season where your secondary is playing wide receiver for you?
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
Mavericks tonight, Game 5. Kristaps Porzingis appears to be out.
He doesn't appear. He's out.
He's out. Game 5. Stars win again last night. Now lead that series. Is it 2-0?
Yep.
Against Calgary?
Colorado. They beat
Colorado. That's right. They beat Calgary against the Avalanche. What an explosive team they have. I was watching. They're down 2-0. They go into a 5-on-4, then a 5-on. Boom. Within seconds, the game is tied. Next thing you know, it's 4-2. Rams and Chargers, no games, no fans, in attendance until further notice at new SoFi Stadium. You build that brand new place, and there's nobody able to go inside. Let's see here. The Astros have a couple of games, schedule changes with the tropical storms, and one now considered perhaps a hurricane coming into town. They'll try to finish their next home series as early as possible. Their game against the Angels Thursday night will be moved to Tuesday, creating a doubleheader. That's tonight?
Yep.
As that Hurricane Laura comes.
It's kind of a big story, those hurricanes in the Gulf right now.
The first one flared out. The other one ran a lot of water. And then Buda Baker?
Buda
Buda Baker.
Safety from Arizona, 4 years, nearly $60 million extension, now the highest paid safety in the NFL, higher than Eddie Jackson from Chicago. All right, when we come back, lots to get to. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. Look, I went in the other day to get a gift for a friend for his 80th birthday, and I said, hey, he likes this and he likes that, and I wound up settling on a bottle of Balcones for him, but the staff in there gave me a lot of great recommendations, and I went with that because it fit what I kind of wanted to get for him. But that was an awesome thing to do, to be able to walk in and say, look, I've got a friend, he likes this and this and this and this. I want to get him something nice. I don't want to just grab him a bottle of alcohol and give it to him just because I think he'll like it. And they really helped me out with that. It's fantastic. You go in there, whatever you need, they can back you up. If it's help on a wine, if it's help on a gift, if you like craft beer, they have a great selection of craft beer. It is fantastic. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, locally owned and operated, family owned and operated, a hidden gem, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change. Your change.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
4 of the top of the 10 single digits are 5, Snead, Ebner, Bernard, Brewer, and Lovett. So 3 and 4, 6, 8, and 9 right now are the ones that are still there. And, of course, offensive linemen get neglected. It's not fair.
It's not. It's, as a former offensive lineman, you're just off in your own little world. You can't have anything cool. You can't touch the ball. If you touch the ball, it's bad. Unless you're the center. But
unless you recover one of your own team's offensive fumbles.
But see, it's still bad, though. Like, something bad has to happen for an offensive lineman to touch the ball.
Well, that's what I loved about the Fumblerooski back when it was legal. Of course, now no longer the case. So, Craig, you are a lifelong Mavericks fan. Craig's loved them. They won the NBA title when they beat Miami, the evil Heat. Loved Dirk and all that. How into this series are you? And is it mainly because of Luka or because they kind of have this up-and-coming feel to them?
I mean, I'm into it. I'm as into it as you can be. I'm not like living and dying on every basket like I probably would have been a few years ago when they were on their finals run. That was just different because, well, the world was different back then in many ways. I was a different person all that time ago as well, so maybe I rooted a little bit differently. But, I mean, it's special. It's not one of those, though, where I'm probably as invested emotionally just because the expectations aren't that they're going to go win a title. Whereas with those teams, when they did play in the finals against the Heat and lost, and then when they got back there shortly thereafter and were actually able to win it, I mean, that felt like high stakes. That felt like a team that could very well raise a trophy. This one doesn't feel that way just yet, but the excitement's because your best player is arguably already a top 10 player in the world, and some would even make an argument he's higher than that. Most would make the argument that he will be, at the very least, pretty much unanimously top 10 in the next couple of years and probably top 5 in the next couple of years. So when you have a 21-year-old who's already borderline top 5 talent and he's just getting started, that's what gets you excited, because this isn't a flash in the pan. This isn't coaches are going to figure him out and they're going to figure out how to defend. No, I mean, there's going to be ways to try and limit him, but great players like him are going to find other ways to be successful. So Luka's a large part of it just because he's so young, he's so good, and there's no reason to think that this isn't going to turn into some, not necessarily a dynasty, but certainly a franchise that could win more than just a championship. It could win 2 or 3 championships when all is said and done.
Well, he's just 21 years old. He's played professional basketball for, 4 or 5 years of his life now. So we heard Epe Udo talking about him on Friday and how he saw him played against him when he was 16. Epe's 29 at that time. I mean, that's the kind of guys he already played against at a young age. So he's developed already as far as he's going to be a pro. That part of it. And then it's just his own ability taking over. Well, he just keeps getting better and better, and he's a big, strong guy, so it's not like he's one of these guys you're going to have to worry about, can he match up physically? Like
he's not RG3.
Yeah, he's big and strong, and he's like Porzingis on his own team. Porzingis is a tall guy. He's an athletic guy, but he's kind of all skin and bones. He's got that kind of tall guy curse where he's going to get hurt a little bit.
Luka looks like he can only just get more and more, like, not thicker, but stronger. He's got
he could put on another 5-10 pounds of muscle probably at some point.
Without losing what he has.
Right. Kristaps isn't like crazy Sean Bradley, like tall and skinny. Kristaps actually has a little bit of an upper body. He's just so tall, though, that it's almost like impossible to be filled out. You know what I mean? Like you'd have to be like 300 pounds and muscle to be filled out at his height. So he's not as gangly, but he's still pretty gangly. I mean, you're right on that. But yeah, I mean, that's the excitement's not so much Porzingis, especially right now because this knee issue, and it's just another injury for him that, that's the knock on Kristaps, is that he is a guy who gets banged up quite a bit, and you worry because of what he dealt with the last couple of years, even if it's not the same knee. But yeah, Luka's a big part of the optimism and just the excitement because you feel like the journey's just starting, and you know that so long as like nothing catastrophic happens, which hey, I know, knock on wood, but so long as that doesn't happen, I mean, for every free agent over the last few years who didn't want to come play in Dallas because, it just wasn't cool enough or whatever, maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm a free agent out there, I want to play with Luka. I mean, I would want to be that third piece or that second piece to complete a championship team.
Couple of things about the single digits from Stegosaurus_BU. I'd love to see Barnes, Atkinson, Fleeks, Petrie, and Taekwon get single numbers. One other note. This is an interesting college football note, and Joey McGuire coached this young man. Dimitri Moore, linebacker from Cedar Hill. He was a phenomenal player in high school. He's at Vanderbilt. Adam Sparks on Twitter. Vanderbilt star linebacker Dimitri Moore opting back into the 2020 season after more research about COVID-19.
Well, his grandfather passed away from it, so that's why he initially withdrew. You can imagine how you'd be pretty jarred by that. And then, he, I guess, went and talked to doctors and medical personnel there at Vanderbilt, and I guess they eventually came to the conclusion that, as long as he's responsible and doing what he's supposed to be doing, that's really all he can do. That's the thing is, like, when everybody says shut down this, shut down that, I get it. Like, I thought the whole fiasco over bars being closed was just ridiculous. But, that there's a lot of other things that I've found ridiculous along the way. But there's a lot of measures that you can argue for or against whatever. But bottom line is, like, if you just do your job, basically, like you would at your regular work job, like, do your job, everybody else does their job, and this is how we're going to beat this thing. It's, so I guess that was the message that was relayed to him and made him feel better. But you can imagine if you lost your grandfather or any family member during this time that maybe you'd make the same decision initially.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm glad that he's changed, yeah.
Yeah, and look, he's at Vanderbilt. He's got access to people who doing some pretty high-level medical work.
So that's the news. Joey McGuire coached him at Cedar Hill. Now, I got a couple of responses on the single digits on the text line. Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, 254-339-1122. On the chat room, the Willis Law Firm chat room, 254-339-1122. On the calls as well. Who else do you think you'd like to see with single digits? And we've already told you who's in. Now, a couple, Kalen Barnes, Atkinson, Fleeks, Petrie, and Taekwon Thornton, Petrie, and Tejada from Jen Witcher. Three of the names that she would like to see get the single digits.
Well, may have to ask Randall on Saturday, or no, tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, if they're going to have any more. I mean, they might be doing a slow release. They might only have these guys that are fit to rock those single-digit jerseys right now. Who knows? But, they're only halfway there, so I'm curious to see myself of how many more there actually will be, if any, because maybe these are the only guys that the team has felt have earned them so far. You'd hope, though, that you could fill out the rest of that top 10 numbers, but we'll see. I'll be interested to hear his answer on that tomorrow because, that definitely gives you a little bit of a tip on who's been putting in the work, who's been leading, who's been doing their job. And clearly Brewer and Lovett and Snead and the others have all been doing that so far. That's why a lot of these guys are repeat guys. But, you would hope that a Taekwon or a Kalen Barnes or, some guys along the William Bradley King, shoot, right? I mean, throw him in a single digit if he's been as impressive as he's been. So, those are some good names.
Also on the text line, Matt in D.C., so many unknowns with Baylor, the new staff, COVID problems, but team knows how to close games, mentally can handle it one game at a time, win by one. Matt in D.C. on the question about Baylor football this year.
That was the thing about their season last year is it could have been the other way very easily.
Mm-hmm. Texas Tech, Iowa State, right?
TCU.
That's a good point. They know how to win a game.
Could have been 7-6 instead of 10-3.
Yeah.
Also could have been 13-0.
Yeah, that's true.
Or 12-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were that good, and they knew how to win. I mean, knew how to finish games. And then the year before, when they went to the bowl game, they learned how to finish right at the end. That's when they learned how to finish games. Before, they were just kind of, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what stuck in it. If it did, it did. Great. If it didn't, okay, well, let's throw that out there.
And Matt Rhule even mentioned in the day he decided he was taking the job in Carolina, we've had him on twice since then, is he wonders as well if perhaps the discussion, once again, about the NFL with this situation before the game with Georgia, not saying they would have won the game had it not been there, We've seen Baylor deal with that one time in Arizona, and they just stunk up the place against Central Florida, Briles in Texas. And in this case, you wonder if that would have, on a team that was so razor-sharp focused, if that didn't create a little bit. And he even said that he probably regrets that too.
I think it had to have. I mean, it was not as bad as the Briles in Arizona trip because that was constant. That was all day, every single day, until he actually had to answer a question about Texas, which is the one that I asked him at that media session that day. And then that kind of further raised the stakes because then it was like a non-denial, but he didn't say no, and it was one of those things. And so that just continued on. And then the Rule stuff, too, I mean, it was the exact same way. I just think that with Rule, you had already kind of mentally prepared for the possibility. So it wasn't like this is, oh, my gosh, where is this coming from? Whereas with Texas and Briles, sure, others had called him before, but I don't know. It just seemed like the NFL made a lot more sense for Matt Rule than Briles at Texas did, I guess.
Yeah, it did. And, well, the other thing about the difference is that Rule had kept them up to, for the whole year, telling him about, they knew it was a possibility. With Art, it just kind of came out of the blue, but Rule had addressed it. He'd been constantly addressing it. So it was more, they kind of knew it was coming eventually.
He told the players, I want to be in the NFL one day, you know, and they weren't shocked by it at all, and that's why they were all sounding happy for him, whereas I think if Briles would have left, he had players who were very, very loyal to him, but there's no doubt some of them would have been pissed off if he'd just, hey, right in the middle of this Big 12 championship campaign, I'm going to go to one of your arch rivals. That's just not cool. So I think the fact that it was kind of out of nowhere, it was big money Texas rolling in and ha, 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 you guys are enjoying your success now, but we're going to poach your football coach. That was a lot different than, hey, this guy who we know is going to end up in the NFL one day, well, he's going to the NFL right now. You know what I mean? But I think that there were distractions, certainly. There was a weird vibe all during that week as far as all of the chatter that was going on about the Giants and the Panthers and everything else. So, yeah, it certainly had an impact, but I'm not so sure that even if they went in there, they don't still lose to Georgia because Georgia, I felt like, just had more talent ultimately, and they were just able to make, more plays when all was said and done. So, who knows? Maybe it turns out a little bit different, but maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, and I've just had a thought in my head. What if Texas decides not to interview Briles and just gives him the job? Which was obviously a sticking point because he couldn't go down there and then come back and have any credibility left.
Well, that was a sticking point, right?
Yeah.
Is he wanted the job without the interview.
Well, that's what's been reported.
Right.
And I think that's probably somewhat true. He was in a position where he was having this success. They had just won their first Big 12 title, which no one thought was possible. And they took him from nothing to 7-6, 10-3, 8-5, and then they win a Big 12 title. And I can understand where you think if Nick Saban is someone's going after him, they're gonna interview him. You have to have some. It would be almost arrogant not to think there won't be some sort of face-to-face meeting with somebody. Mm-hmm. I don't care who you are.
Well, clearly Saban had his face-to-face when his wife was shopping for houses there in Austin,
in Texas. But the thing with Briles, one of the things I think that made that a distraction was you mentioned it's UT, so it's a team that's in your conference. But also, he didn't address it very well. And then he kind of addressed it like he addressed a lot of things, kind of almost as if he was still in Stephenville. And so,
why are you asking me about this?
Yeah, when it was out there, and even if it's, then again, there's times if it's not true. But he did. You asked him the question with Rule. He made it very clear. I know a lot of people don't like him because of the fact he was always flirting with the NFL. He's making a bucket load of money now in Carolina. So his dream came true. Now, whether he wins there or not remains to be seen, but that was something he made clear. It wasn't like a shock.
His dream was to be an NFL head coach. Now imagine what your dream is. Imagine you get that dream. Now imagine that dream's even better than your original dream because he's not only an NFL head coach, but he's got long-term security, gigantic money, and pretty much anything at his disposal that he wants, whether it's staff hires or technology or what. He's got the full meal deal. So he played the game perfectly. He did what he had to do. I know some people, will always be a little bit bitter about him maybe flirting, during his time, or, just maybe bitter about him not staying longer, but whatever. I mean, if I got a call from my dream job right now and they said, yeah, not only do we want you for your dream job, but we're also going to pay you money that is life-changing, and you'll never have to work a day after this job ever again, and you'll have everything you want at your disposal. I mean, who would not do that?
When David Tepper came in here and said, okay, what do you want? All right, what else?
I don't think Rule even expected what Tepper was going to offer him. When I traded a text or two with him when he was in Cabo or wherever he was, and I don't think Rule, I think he knew that it would be a hell of a sale, a pitch, but there's no way he expected what he actually was given.
And obviously, you know a little bit about, okay, well, this guy came up, he was a part owner of the Steelers for a while, so he came up with the Rooneys, but you don't know how much he really wants to do things like the Rooneys. Then you find out, no, he wants to do things like the Rooneys, where what they did with Chuck Noll is they hired a young coach that they really liked, and they agreed with his vision for the future, and then they left him alone to do his job. And so when you're a coach and you have an owner with endless pockets who loves you and loves your potential and wants you to realize that, and he's going to get out of the way while you do it, you say yes. Just if you interview for any kind of job and somebody says, what else do you want? As long as it's not like a pyramid scheme, take the job.
I agree.
Yeah.
Three. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you had the obvious thoughts that everybody had of like, well, if a New York team comes calling, that's it. And like, I don't think we gave Matt Rule probably the entire time nearly enough credit for how thought out he is, because those weren't the home runs that you thought they were. And he played that game and he had interest from other teams, but yeah, it ultimately landed in the absolutely perfect scenario that any first-time NFL head coach would want to walk into. So I will not ever knock him for following his dreams. But yeah, I mean, those two situations were slightly different, but definitely distractions came into play with both those games.
Every day at 3:45 except Friday. What this week, Grayson's going to be on the show tomorrow with Sikkim365.com. We'll have a couple of high school coaches, back-to-back interviews. Today it is China Spring and Robinson. Yesterday it was Crawford and Mart. Tomorrow it will be Conley and La Vega, then eventually Midway and Temple, among others. Waco High University. That's coming up next. And then Mack Rhoades today will join us at 4:20. And then Ryan Resch, who's a part of the Phoenix Suns administration, former GA at Baylor, will join us. He'll be on with us at 4:45. Then we'll have NFL writers David Hellman and John McClain today in the 5 o'clock hour. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac employee pricing continues for everyone. The summer savings event going on now. You pay what employees pay all month, and that means you're saving thousands of dollars. For example, right now you can save $7,000 on 2020 Acadias. You can save $7,000 on 2020 Yukon, $7,000 on 2020 GMC Terrains, $8,000 on 2020 GMC SLT Crew Cab, $7,200 on a 2020 Buick Enclave, plus thousands on 2020 Buick Envisions and 2020 Buick Encore. So how about that for a summer savings event? And that's just some of their offering. You can also check out the line of Cadillacs, the XT4s, XT5s, or the XT6s. Right now, the XT4 can be yours for only $35,900 at Richard Carr Cadillac. And not only do you get great savings, you get the great prices, but you also get free oil changes with a new purchase, plus in-town priority warranty service with every vehicle you buy at Richard Carr. Richard Carr Motors, the people you can count on, a local family dealer run by Baylor alumni. They just want the chance to earn your business, so stop by their daily disinfected showroom, see their safety-focused staff, or they can bring the test drive to your home because your comfort and safety is their first priority. Find them online at Richard Carr, that's KARR.com, or Highway 6, the Imperial exit.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi. Great price chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco. House-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine. Best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family-owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717, or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT, or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment with China Spring Cougars football coach Brian Bell is sponsored by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, First National Bank of Central Texas, Lance Donaldson eXp Realty, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
Brian, obviously coming off a team, you went 2 rounds deep. The record was deceiving. The teams you played, obviously, very, very good, plus the district itself. What do you feel you gained out of last year, and even with the crazy offseason, where do you feel like you are with the program as we enter the season this week?
Yeah, I think we got an experienced team, kind of like what you hinted at. We played some good football last year. Like you said, the records kind of didn't show that. But at times we were playing some really good ball, and we got most of those guys back. We only graduated 11 seniors. So, we got a really experienced ball team, and it kind of gave us a jump start going into the season. Guys came in with some good energy, and it's been maintained. We got the scrimmage La Vega last week, so we got humbled a lot in a lot of different areas, and they exploited a lot of different things for us. So we're excited where we're at, and we're learning a lot about ourselves, and we're excited it's actually week 1, and we can get the ball rolling this week.
You have Benbrook. Last year they struggled. A couple of years ago they were pretty good. What do you know about them? They really struggled scoring points last year.
I just know that they have a really good coaching staff, and Coach Slater does a fantastic job with those guys, and then they got some really good athletes. They're just watching them on film from their scrimmage. They've got some really dominant, skilled guys who when the ball's in their hands, they can be very, very dangerous.
You have Faulkner back and Major Bowden, who, of course, is an athlete that can do many things as well. How do you handle that? You kind of have a plan already, or is it just going to be a gut feeling for the moment, or what you're doing that time?
Got a kind of a plan ready to go. They just bring their own style of football to the game, and they're both unique and they're different football players, and I think that plays to our advantage. So they're both going to see a lot of time at the quarterback position for us, and we're excited about both of them. We've got a unique plan, and we're fired up to kind of get it underway this week.
A year ago, Emmanuel Abdallah just burst on the scene. Of course, he had that crazy game when he rushed for over 500 yards, 554. How much do you lean on him this year?
Oh, he's just so consistent and steady. Just him as a he's a workhorse. That's what he is. He shows up every day. He gives us everything he got, and he works extremely hard. And we're going to lean on him heavily in the offensive game. But we just know number 8, when he's on the field and he's got the ball in his hands, he's going to be consistent, and he's going to take care of the football. So we can talk about Braden and Major all we want, but the bell cow of our offense is number 8.
Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Have you downloaded the Sikkim 365 radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment with Robinson Rockets football coach Robert Rubel is sponsored by Stonewood Dental, Parsons Roofing, Lance Donaldson eXp Realty, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
Your first game at Robinson have been through so much turmoil and unknown and angst and exhilaration. What will this week be like? I know you've coached a long time. Is this a little bit different because of all we've dealt with?
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, we're constantly, every time I get a text or the phone rings, I'm concerned that it's somebody telling us that something's happened and we're not going to be able to play or practice or whatever it is. And so it's been a lot of angst, but just really excited about the opportunity, trying to make sure that we get to play Friday night. And our staff has done a tremendous job of preparing our kids, and our kids have done a really good job too. And so I'm hoping we get to Friday night, we get to play a game and have a little bit of normalcy coming around for everybody, not just us, but for everybody. And so, like I said, we're just anxious with every minute and just want to get to Friday night.
What did you learn about your team last week with the scrimmage as you head to this first game with Taylor?
I think we still understand that we're a little bit young, and the young guys need to kind of get caught up to the speed of the game a little bit. We saw flashes of guys that we knew that we could count on that are going to be good, and saw some things that we needed to really work on with our young guys. And so that was the best thing. The kids got to go out there and play. They got to hit somebody in a different jersey, and we got to see some things that we need to work on. And so that was big for us. And then, obviously starting to prep for Friday night. And so hopefully we can take care of that through the week.
What do you know about Taylor?
Taylor has changed offenses. They've gone to a split back veer offense. And so I had to go all the way back, I think, to 1987 and look at some film and watch some things and call some old friends of mine and go, okay, split back veer, And so, but they're a split back veer team. From what we saw from their scrimmage, they were rotating quarterbacks, so we're not sure who their quarterback's going to be. They got a couple big backs who are hard runners that we're going to have to try to tackle a certain way. They got a couple backs that when they get the ball on the outside, they got a chance to go all the way. Offensively, we got to make sure that we take care of our business there. And then defensively, they're a 3-down team. They like to bring guys with pressure from inside and outside, and they roll coverages and do things of that nature. So, we need to be on our game. We need to be ready to play, and our guys have to pay attention to what's happening so we can make some plays off of it.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Corley. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
He wants to be stronger, bigger, better looking in a T-shirt and in the end zone. Touchdown, Tyquan Thornton. The run sets up the pass. Another beauty from Charlie Brewer. A 35-yard score.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
One of my tweets to me at David Smoke while we were gone with the high school segments was the single digits somebody put together. Hey, those others are getting skipped over because R.J. Sneed, Ebner, Bernard, Brewer, and Lovett are seniors. Could the others be underclassmen?
Maybe.
And, people, let's get into this, and we've had a chance to kind of visit with about it as we started the show today at 3 o'clock. Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, and David Smoke. So maybe the ones that have been released out of order in a way are the seniors who are on the team, although what is a senior anymore? What's a junior?
How many of those guys are back next year? I mean, I think every guy, Charlie Brewer will have an interesting decision, not because of the NFL, but just, where's his health? And also just where is he mentally as far as does he want to play another year of college football? I mean, that's going to be the big question for a lot of these guys who don't necessarily have NFL aspirations. I think if you have NFL aspirations that are legitimate, then this actually makes it a pretty easy decision. Like, I don't think Terrell Bernard's going to have to think too hard after this year. If all the talk about him has been legit, and there's no reason to believe that it hasn't been, then, perhaps find that it's time to go off into the sunset. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what players across the country end up doing. But these are seniors. And as Brian and Colt pointed out, Terrell Bernard was a part of that first Rule class, so all these guys who have single digits were a part of that first Rule recruiting class. And I'm curious to see, do they fill out the rest of them in the next few days, or do they wait on that? Is that something that they just don't fill out because maybe there aren't enough worthy candidates? Then that creates another question of, well, why aren't there more candidates for single digits? So, yeah, I'm very interested.
I think they'll fill it out.
I think they will, but, until they do, I'm curious about that. But I would assume that they do.
Didn't they have 1 year where they left the number open?
Yeah. So it's possible that they could do that. I don't think, though, that they would release just half. I would think that if there's not a number that's going to be taken, that it would be 1 or 2. It wouldn't be, 5 different single-digit numbers. That would be kind of weird if it occurred that way. But it's cool to see that they're doing it. I mean, like I said earlier, I intended to ask Dave Aranda about this last weekend, and I just didn't get around to it. And now we've got our answer on that. And how many coaches come in and they want to change every single thing that occurs, and all we've heard from Dave Aranda is hey, the culture's already here, the foundation's already been laid, we just have to basically put our touches on it, and the stuff, the main stuff is already present because of what the previous staff did. And another thing that a new staff might come in and do is, we're not going to do that stupid single-digit jersey thing anymore. We're going to put patches on our jerseys, or we're going to do something. We're going to stripe down the leg or something. But he's continuing that as well. So I think that says a lot about Dave Aranda and the respect he has for Rule, but also just that he's not afraid to embrace what others have done, even if it's not something he created.
Yeah, this is the first coaching staff change in my life that I think I've seen, at least at this level, where the coach hasn't come in and go, we got to change everything about what's going on. Our guys aren't in shape, da-da-da-da. And
why do coaches do that in the first place?
To give themselves kind of a leeway in the
buffer
beginning.
Zone.
Yeah.
It seems like some because of ego.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And this is my and I get it. Some need to be cleared. But I think there's Matt Rule cleared out a bunch.
Yeah.
The music.
But sometimes
helmets.
Sometimes they're right, but sometimes I'm wondering, you really need to lift more weights? I mean, what were the other guys doing?
I've always been interested in how strength and conditioning are probably more like therapists. As far as some just hit you better, some maybe make you react better, some get to you a little bit better, because they're all telling you to do pretty much the same thing. Maybe there's a few exercises that are different, but really in the end, aren't they all really good at what they do? It just depends on who can get you to do that.
Yeah, I think when you hear the old players talk about Kaz Kazadi, I don't think that I can't imagine that there were too many exercises that he had in his back pocket that just nobody else was aware of or utilizing around the country. Maybe there were some. I wouldn't doubt that there were some that he had picked up along the way or created himself. But for the most part, yeah, these guys all do the same thing. But what you hear about Kaz, or what you always heard about Kaz, was just how motivational he was and how inspiring he was. And so to your point, yeah, that's what you hear. I mean, yeah, the workouts were super tough. What was it that Corey and another person also both brought up, the Greek workouts they did, almost like the Spartan workouts they did. So, there's that element to it, and he definitely rode them tough, but so much of it was mental for sure. So much of it.
Exactly. So sometimes maybe it is. Maybe you don't have a strength he tells you, okay, go do this, this, and this, and you do all that, but mentally you're just not to the level he needs to get you to.
And I think that the last couple of teams that we've seen, I mean, there's no doubt that with strength and conditioning, they can take you in different directions. Rule definitely wanted a different body type than what Bryles was looking for. So you had Clay Johnston bulking up his neck, for example, and doing things like that. So there are little different touches that a coaching staff might want, or a different way they want their players to look. So that certainly comes into play as well.
I think the Aranda defensive type player will be more lanky, lean, and raw.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the defensive backs at LSU, tall, long arms, just straight up and down crazy athletic good.
Sort of a linebacker, sort of a safety, somewhat a corner. That's the thing is, this is a positionless defense pretty much. So that's what we're learning. We're going to have to break ourselves of he's a linebacker. No, he's actually a jack. So he's a little bit of 3 different positions, as William Bradley King was describing today. So, the single digits thing is cool. I'm really glad that that's something that's continuing on. I did worry because it's a new staff that they would maybe come in and be like, nah, we're not going to do that. We'll do something else that's more of our own. But Rule got it from somewhere too. He got it from Al Golden, right? That's what he explains at Temple. So that was something that once he got the head coaching job and to come back, he wanted to continue on. So now Aranda continues it on as well, and it's gone through 3 coaching staffs.
And it's amazing that when you do something that hasn't been done before, how if you don't win, it looks silly.
Oh, single digits were embarrassing year number 1, right?
Yeah, and a lot of fans that were pushing back and for a lot of reasons of 1-11, and yet today they start releasing these numbers. Craig, you're the one that spotted it, and now the feedback. It's like threads on SicEm365.com on just the single digits and discussions of. I put it up on Twitter, and people have already reacted to who should be the other ones.
And I should clarify on the single digits that first year. I think people thought it was kind of cool, but I think everything was just so weird during that time period. Just everything was weird. And so it was sort of embraced, but then once they came out of the gates and they were losing to Liberty, that killed all the positive vibes. And so those single digit players, Brian Nance, I remember, was one of them, and I think Taylor Young either was that first year or second year. But, those guys played really hard, and they were the leaders, but they were just in such a weird position that it was hard to really grasp on and hold on to too much from year number 1 of Matt Rule. But, hey, it has, as you said, turned into something that people look forward to, and they want to speculate on it. And we've gotten a lot of questions in the mailbag on the podcast about it here recently because people now are expecting it to be named soon. And so, people get jazzed up for it. I think it's cool.
I do too. And it's just something. And again, every program, some have been able to sustain things like this for 30, 40 years. Of course, now with more coaching changes, the less things are sustainable. But it's something that does bring some interest as well. We'll have Mack Rhoades at 4:20. Ryan Resch. He's known in a way as a Moneyball type guy.
Really?
He was a GA at Baylor. Saw a couple of stories about him. He's a 2014 Bachelor of Arts degree at Baylor. Was an undergraduate student manager for the basketball team. And never really thought he was going to be a part of sports. But then he he kind of has a Moneyball effect. He kind of helped Baylor men's basketball with some analytics. He'll join us today at 4:45, David Hellman, John McClain at 5 o'clock and 5:30. One more day closer. How about the frustrations? You have all of what happened this spring and summer. You have somewhat the shutdowns even around the state, the UIL, and then you kind of have this get back, and then you fight to get back. And now you have this damn hurricane coming flying in, which is just a normal time when they do. But now you have games that were finally going to be played. That's what Don Hyde was able to find that game yesterday after working through all of this. And then all of a sudden you have a game that's canceled because of something else that's happening. And there are games, around the area. Most of them right now are intact. But isn't that crazy how it's been hard to just get to that first game?
Yeah, it really has. I'm impressed that the La Vega coaching staff is just going to be able to throw out a game plan and kind of wing it, as they are going to have to this week. They have to come up with one, but to have to work on one for, you've got the first week, who you're going to play. That's usually you spend a couple weeks on that one just to make sure you get everything right, with your players and going through what they need to go through in a game plan. And here they have to throw it out in less than a day.
Yeah, and I think we all need to enjoy this week because, who the heck knows what week 2 brings? Once these teams finally meet up, who knows what the rates and all that stuff's going to look like. So hope everybody's jazzed up for it and hope it doesn't see any interruptions, but also just, having it tucked away in the back of my mind of hey, after this first week, there might be a little bit of a break just because we don't know what this is going to look like in any way, shape, or form or how impactful or non-impactful this is going to be. I think we're going to see, who the really good coaches are in this whole thing because you're still getting time with your team and all of that. But I think because you are, for example, like a Don Hyde having to suddenly game plan in much less time. I mean, normally you would have had all offseason to plan for this very first game. All offseason, at least a few weeks. I mean, whatever really you wanted to dedicate to it. And now you're game planning for your first opponent in like 4 days' time. So that's a massive difference. And I think, we're just going to see who the really great coaches are who are able to respond to constant changes and adversity and something else being thrown in their way. And we're going to just see who the really great programs are. They're going to be able to just stick together and power through this thing despite all the interruptions or whatever else may get thrown into the fray.
I agree. 410 on Sikkim 365 Radio. Just got another text line from the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line from Stephen Vaughn. If y'all could and were going to buy a current Baylor player's jersey, who would you get? Green, gold, or white? Who would you get? A green, gold, or white? You know which one I liked? I ended up liking because of I liked the one that a lot of people didn't like. The one that was like an off yellow, gold, whatever that was.
Yeah, I wouldn't get the yellow.
No, because you know what? When you play tough, it doesn't matter what colors you're wearing.
I would get the white one, and I don't know.
And that's if I would buy. I wouldn't buy one.
Yeah.
But if I bought a Baylor player's jersey, like if you wanted 1 or 9 or whatever you could do, or Charlie Brewer's 5.
Jersey guy, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably, just something to hang on the wall. I'd probably go green, since that's the main school color, and then either Bernard or Brewer. That would be one of those two guys.
I'd probably go white Bernard.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'd get Charlie.
Yellow Charlie.
Oh, yeah, I'm president of his fan club, right?
I'm the president of the Treston Ebner fan club.
Yeah. So, we got it's a growing list.
What am I doing? Treston Ebner is who I'd pick. I'm stupid. He's a single digit now, too. So, I'd get I'm dumb. A Treston Ebner green jersey was what I would get.
So, the single digits have been released, at least half of them, and there's more to come. And I do think that what somebody had mentioned about seniors might be the case with Snead, Ebner, Bernard, Brewer, and Lovett as the ones that have already been released. 0, 1, and 2. 5 and 7, and the only one that's a repeat is 7 right now, right, Lovett?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been. You had a tweet earlier, but he's been at all 4 years.
All 4 years, John Lovett's been a single digit since the Matt Rule era.
Well, who was it? I'm going to pull up the roster last year to look at who the single digits were because I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. I know a couple
Denzel
of these
Mims
guys
was 5.
Yeah, I just want to see who was missing and who would. You think if there was an automatic returning guy that would make sense. Okay, Graylin Arnold's gone. He was number 1. That's been filled, right? You said. Blake Lynch was 2. Chris Miller's gone. Clay Johnston, Denzel, Jamichael, John Lovett, Henry Black, James Lockhart. So, every single one of those guys but John Lovett is gone. So they're all open, and there's no returning guys to grab their numbers from last year.
Yeah.
So I was just curious about that.
That. Denzel Mims was 5. You're right. You gave her the names of the other ones. Who was 9?
James Lockhart.
Yeah, That's right. All right, 4:11 when we come back. Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades at 4:45. Ryan Resch of the Phoenix Suns. Mavericks tonight, Game 5. They're going to win this thing, right?
No.
They've been able to win and could have won with a couple of things that happened in the losses they had. I'm not talking about the championship. I'm talking about this series against the Clippers. You don't think so?
I don't believe that either. I think that if they were up 3-1, I'd feel really good about it, as they very well should be up 3-1 right now rather than at 2-2. But at 2-2, I still got to give the edge to the Clippers. I mean, Dylan and I were talking about this earlier, but Paul George has been awful. He's been atrocious. And so at some point, I feel like he's going to have to do something. And I don't know that Paul George, who's actually producing – I don't know if the Mavs can really answer for that too much because these games have been close enough as is, and that's with him basically doing nada. So, I mean, it took a superhuman effort for Luka. I have no doubt he can probably do that a couple more times. I just don't know if he can do it a couple more times before the Clippers just, grab hold of the series. So I'm not that confident in winning this one, but we'll see.
I told Paul the Cowboys need to get in the playoffs now.
Yeah.
Mavericks are playing well. Stars are playing now. The Rangers, that's a dead issue.
Yeah, Stars are in full command. Mavericks are tied up. Rangers stink. I mean, pretty much.
Although it's never gone well the scales never balance in Dallas. It's never everyone's good at the same time. The Cowboys are on one side of the scale and everybody else is on the other. It's very rare that the Cowboys are great. Like, when the Cowboys were great in the 90s, the Mavericks, the Rangers, the Stars weren't even there.
There was a time every single summer, the Rangers, not that they always were playing well into the mid to late July, but it was a given that they'd be playing well. Mm-hmm. We'd go to training camp, and I promise you, it was almost as if the Cowboys starting training camp started, the Rangers weren't running out of gas.
Yeah, that's usually probably just August heat.
Yeah,
no,
it was July, though. It was like
in the cement ballpark.
But it was like clockwork.
Yeah.
There were 3 or 4 things that happened. The British Open was always played at some point on like the weekend of the blue-white scrimmage, which was the first weekend. And the Rangers would go into a swoon.
Yeah, I think it probably had more to do with the fact that they played in literally the second hottest place you can go in all of existence, and the first one you don't want to go because it means you've been bad.
Yeah. And back, when did they open up the ballpark? In 90-something?
Yeah. And that place was still hot.
The other place was like trying to play in a sardine can that was empty or had oil in it.
It was. I remember when I was 8 years old, I went to my first game, and I think I was cooked to a medium rare sitting on those old, like, straight up and down bleachers in the outfield.
All right, Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics, on many things. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Are you in the market for a new home, or you're trying to sell the one you're in? You're probably doing both. If you're in the market for a new home, maybe you're like, someone like Dylan who can enjoy 3, 4, 5 houses at once. That's just how he rolls. But if you need a realtor, you need one who's going to listen to what you have to say, who's going to be easy to talk to when you're looking at houses, who's going to notice things that you may not notice because they know all the ins and outs. Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty. Let them be your go-to source as you search for that perfect home. Give Lance a call, 254-214-3713, or go online, LanceDonaldson.exprealty.com. Like I said, Lance is a great guy, a fantastic listener. He's going to hear what you have to say. He's going to kind of know everything he needs to know about you a lot quicker than you can even expect, because that's the kind of person he is. Again, go online, LanceDonaldson.exprealty.com, or 254-214-3713.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
The biggest, the baddest, and proven to be the best. Ram is back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Now, get the Ram you've been waiting for less from your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels. A new loaded-up 2020 Ram 1500 Longhorn 4x4. Now with a whopping $12,000 off. And first responders receive an additional $500. Big summer clearance event savings from the Ram leader, Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Ask for details. All offers with approved credit.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Here we go, Sikkim 365 Radio. Dylan, Craig, and it's fun that during the break you can hear discussions about what do the Mavericks need as they make this run, taking the Clippers now to Game 5. Best of 7 tied at 2 apiece. And also Game 5 tonight. Porzingis out. We thought Luka might be out, or most did. And then, of course, he played the game of his life. We're now joined by Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades. I don't know how much since you arrived in August of 2016, how much you've done to put Baylor and Bob Bowlesby back together again. But I think I asked him a question yesterday that might have just broken that apart again.
Please tell me so I have a warning. So I can make sure he knows and understands that you do not represent Baylor whatsoever. So.
Wow.
Well, Smokey decided to revisit 61-58 and the repercussions of that first CFP. So, those kind of things.
He sent me a text after the interview and said, glad I could be a part of the show. All right, so we're good.
So, yeah, thank you for always buttering him up. I appreciate that.
Is this deal, Mack Rhoades with us. Thanks, Mack. Appreciate your time. Is this extra year that we're hearing about, I call it a mulligan. So if you're a fifth-year senior, you don't get a sixth year, or do you?
No, you get that additional year,
okay,
right? And then the way it works is, that scholarship next year will not count toward the team limit. So for football, right, you have 85 scholarships. We're talking about the sport of football. That senior, if they decide to come back for that additional year, we're allowed to go above the 85 to accommodate the returning seniors.
Do you think that it will create log jams most places, or will it kind of work itself out because there's a lot of guys who are just going to leave anyway because on to the next event in their professional lives as athletes?
Yeah, there'll be some student athletes, and again, this extra year of eligibility, right? It was for fall sports only. So for Baylor, right, that's football, volleyball, soccer, and cross country. So it's not everybody. Now, something similar, right? Something exactly similar was passed for the spring sports, who had their seasons cut short last spring. But to answer your question, not everyone will want to come back, right? Some will want to move on. Some will have had their undergraduate degree and just want to get on with life. And there'll be some that really want to play that additional year. And so for the following year, because everybody is getting an additional year within the fall sports, not just the senior, right? It's going to create some roster management issues maybe that we haven't had to deal with in the past. And so as you think about, student athletes wanting to take that additional year, and then how do you blend that with signing new student athletes? We're going to have to just be really transparent and up front with student athletes. And, we want you to return for that additional year. this may not be the best fit. So all of those things. And when you think about roster management, we're gonna have to handle and handle up front and be honest and transparent.
Mack, we were talking about some of the single digits that have been released today, and that was something I wondered about if Aranda was going to continue on with that tradition, and looks like he will. He's been very complimentary of the previous regime. He talked about how different it is walking in, to a place where the foundation has already been laid. Normally, as a new coach, you're walking in and having to lay that foundation for yourself. As an athletic director, what's that like to have that ability to maneuver from Coach Rule to Coach Aranda and not have the typical things that occur during a coaching change, like somebody wanting to come in and do everything their own way?
Yeah, it's so first of all, it probably makes being an athletic director, a lot easier as you think about that transition from one coach to the next. And I think it's what I think it boils down to is great wisdom by Coach Aranda, right? And sometimes ego gets in the way of wisdom. And he's just a very thoughtful and again wise person. And so many times you'll have a coach come in and it's just, and again, not anything bad or wrong, right? But it's just this is the way I'm doing it, and I don't care how it was done before. And that happens even if the previous program was winning. And so for him to really take the time and to listen and to be thoughtful about some of the things that he kept, some of the things that our players, our student athletes really loved and embraced, right, and really rallied upon, to be able to do that as a first year coach and to know and understand that. I think, certainly gives him a head start as he thinks about making this program, his own. And certainly, there are other elements that are Dave Aranda's or Paul Chris or, whoever else he's coached with, right. That he's brought to the program. But, I give him such great credit in terms of, the way he's handled the transition and the way he's taken some of the things that have worked really, really well for us and have been part of our culture, right, and has kept them in place.
Mack, on another sport, volleyball, for example, they're going to play this fall, right?
Yeah.
So if they,
go ahead. Go ahead. I was just going to say. So the Big 12, we as a conference decided on Friday. Gosh, I can't even keep my days straight. So last Friday, we decided that yes, we'd move forward with a volleyball, soccer, and cross country regular season in the fall.
So if they play, and then others don't play until the spring in other conferences, do they have to sit on their hands while everyone else plays in February or March and then start in a tournament play, or do you get a chance to have some sort of like spring something?
Yeah, so it is a great question. And, we believe right now that there'll be an opportunity for the teams that do play, the regular season in the fall to have something in place in the spring to get ready, for the NCAA championships, if indeed they, the fall championships happen in the spring. What that looks like, we don't know yet. Is that just simply, hey, it's going to be, a couple, matches, or is it going to be, potentially a conference tournament, right? Those are all things that, I think are on the table, and we haven't decided yet.
Okay, so that now on the other part of it, the extra year of eligibility for everyone from the fall. And there's a time now where you're losing money. You're not getting some of the revenue. There's things that are leaking. How do you then financially afford if there's an extra 8, 10, 12, 15 players on scholarship?
Just really smart and healthy financial planning. I mean, I don't know any better way to say it. We're going to have to, really just take a hard look and make sure we do a great job prioritizing, the extra spots to the spring rosters, because again, this happened back, when we gave everybody an extra year. That was an additional right around $600,000 to our budget. We probably or could anticipate that this would even be north of that. So you've got to find a way. You got to find a way to plan and we've been blessed to have some reserves, and that's always an option for us to be able to fund some of this maybe unplanned, unanticipated costs through reserve money. But we'll try to continue to generate revenue as best we can. And you've heard me say it before. Our Baylor family, our donors, our fans have been absolutely fantastic in the way they've supported our program.
Mack, we asked this to Commissioner Bowlesby yesterday, but with there's so many things changing in college athletics so quickly that the NCAA needs to get out in front of or get in line with. COVID-19 is obviously shown that there are some leaks in the boat when it comes to the way that things are set up. With a couple years to think of it before you talk about grant of rights again on television and adding that onto it. Is this a time once COVID-19 gets at least figured out and strategized through that maybe the member institutions should start looking at what you need to do to kind of revamp things so that they run a little smoother?
Yeah, so I guess the best way for me to answer is that, man, shame on us if we don't. We really need to look internally and I don't know, again, I won't go as far to say that we need wholesale changes, but at minimum, we need some tweaks. And, we need to operate, and I say we need to operate in a more efficient manner, a better way. I think there's way too many silos, right? And it's difficult, right? The membership of the NCAA is so diverse, and the spectrum from one end to the other is so wide and far, and we've got to find a better way to navigate that. And I think the challenge is going to be finding the time to do that. I think there were some of us that felt like, hey, if we don't play this year, college sports, because of COVID, right? The positive was that, we would then, have time to really think this through and how do we move forward. And, now again, crossing our fingers and hoping we can play in a really health and safe way. How do we find time to make those adjustments or make some changes? But, absolutely, my humble opinion, we need to make some changes.
Question from the text line. Can you ask if you have time? What percentage has deferred next year? The season ticket holders, do you know yet? Is that something you even have in front of you? What percentage has deferred to next year, asked for refunds, and how does that keep you from having to deal with what Nebraska did, I think even on Friday or so, when they had 51 staff members laid off, or furloughed, for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I do not have those numbers in front of me right now, and I apologize. I'll get those numbers, and please, the person that texted that, let them know that I'll make sure that we get them to you so that you can certainly let our listeners know, or we can wait till next week. I can tell you that right now we've started to go on sale with obviously the single game. Our championship club members have had the first crack at it, and those are sales are going really, really well. The club is nearly sold out for all games, right? We the amount of money at least to date that our season ticket holders have decided to turn into a tax deductible gift, a donation. We're at about $500,000 right now, and so off to a great start there. But I'll make sure we get the other numbers for you.
Paul, anything else?
Nope.
The Texas Tech announced today, or the report was, they had 21 players who are tested positive for COVID, the football team, and yet they're moving on with practice. Is there a number the Big 12 has that says that that's it as far as a program, how many numbers of players of the 85 or so test positive and you got to shut down practice? Has that even been discussed?
No, there isn't a specific number. I think that when you have a collection of, or more that test positive, certainly, that gets everybody's antennas up, and then you need to, understand where those positives came from, right? Were they, one group, or are they, from several different groups? And, and I think there's a lot of factors that play into whether or not you just decide to shut it down. And so, again, not knowing their story, were those positives, and I think you said they were positives, they just weren't primary contacts as well as positives. So I think all of that plays into it. But I do know, just working with, public health officials, if, all of a sudden we have 10, then we're going to have to take a deeper dive, a deeper look to say, okay, why those 10, right?
Yeah.
So there isn't a specific number.
Will soccer or volleyball have fans?
They will be very, very similar to football at the 25% capacity.
Mack, where are you guys in the onboarding process? Is everybody athletically pretty much back on campus at this point?
So everybody's back on campus since classes started yesterday, but we have not officially onboarded our spring sports student athletes, and we're really waiting probably until mid-September to do that. We want some time to pass and make sure that we give football and volleyball and soccer and cross country the best chance, the best opportunity to be successful and to begin their seasons right. The amount of work that goes into this, and it's hard to explain, but you just think about our equipment people that set up the practices and the fields. I mean, they're doing 2 to 3 times extra work because of COVID-19. When you think of all of the precautions and disinfecting everything, et cetera. And so, when you think about our health and wellness staff, some of the health and wellness staff that maybe just worked with spring sports, right? They're having to help with football and with volleyball and soccer and cross country. So it's a lot. And, one of my greatest worries every day is staff strain and how do we manage that and make sure that, we're not doing more than what we're capable of and that we're being fair to our people and we're not, just, straining them to the point where, they have no capacity, and we're just not going to do that to our people. So we're trying to be, again, very careful on how we onboard everybody and how we manage just the entire group of 500 plus student athletes.
I know it's only been a day, but what's it like to have students back on campus?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I went for a jog on campus, and I kind of, forgot that, I don't have the campus to myself anymore. And now I've got to dodge and go different routes, et cetera. But it was great to see everybody. And, it at least maybe feels a little bit like, we're getting back to normal. I know that we're far from it. And we've talked about this before, that we'll never get back to what was normal as we knew it, back 6 months ago. But it's great to see, young people on our campus and that it's thriving and yet, we're all cautious and need to make sure that we all do our part, right, to be responsible on how we handle COVID-19.
Not sure if you knew this or not, but we had Dr. Ackerman on yesterday. Again, I'm not sure if you knew this as well, but there were some that tried to act like the Big 12 or whoever just pulled him off of what he said on Twitter as an expert witness for this COVID and heart issue, myocarditis. Did you hear about any of that, and why anyone would take a shot at a guy who's a doctor with his impeccable career resume at the Mayo Clinic?
Yeah, probably because it just makes for a story, right? And you get to sell papers. But no, that's not what happened. You know, Dr. Ackerman has a working relationship with some Big 12 institutions. He's highly thought of, right? He's a non-ego person. Certainly, you know, isn't out there, you know, for notoriety. He's doing what he's doing because he's an expert in the area. And when I say expert, not just of the heart, but with this age group, with elite athletes, and you know, he stepped forward and said, hey, you know, if you decide not to play, you know, you may have a lot of different reasons for deciding not to play, but the heart shouldn't be one of them, and this is why, and these are the precautionary measures, right, that you need to take to make sure you're not putting your student athletes in harm's way, and I certainly appreciate him. I appreciate the guidance, and I think we're moving forward the right way.
Do you lose money from the tailgate guys having to shut down this season? Is that something that would have been a check to Baylor University? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, you know, tailgating, you know, with or without the, you know, even pre tailgate guys, right? Tailgating was a source of revenue, and you know, and as you remember, you know, when we brought tailgate guys on board, certainly from some of our fans, that wasn't the most popular decision that we or I ever made, but you know, it was never about the money piece. But yeah, it's a source of revenue, just another one of those buckets that we'll lose. And again, you know, we decided, you know, the no tailgating, and as tailgate guys have begun to let, you know, our customers know that, we'll officially announce that. But you know, I think in line with state and local officials, that's been the decision. I think very similar to some of our other colleagues within the state of Texas.
Thank you, Mac. Appreciate it as always. Appreciate your time.
All
Mack
right.
Rhoades, Baylor Director of
Thank
Athletics.
you all.
You too. Baylor Director of Athletics at Baylor. Every Tuesday, Edward Jones Investments, your advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, Tom Albers, Cam Heathcott. Every Tuesday, for the most part, at 4:20. When we come back, Ryan Resch is a part of the Phoenix Suns administration about the NBA, how they've handled the bubble, how the season has gone forward. Former Baylor graduate assistant. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Family owned and operated since 1943. That's 77 years in business. Customer service has to be unbelievable. Your product has to be great too. You can have one or the other and maybe survive, but you have both, and that's why you're in business for nearly 80 years. And Pioneer Steel and Pipe, locations in Waco and Bryan, striving to build relationships with customers, and making sure you get the exact product that is safe, what's structurally sound, and what you need for projects. They will help with your project, offer suggestions on design, provide you with a list of reliable contractors if you need them. Whatever they do to make your experience enjoyable, they will do it. Make it easy as well. Offering high-quality materials, making sure your metal building bids are structurally sound. Competitors will bid buildings lighter to make them cheaper, oftentimes compromising the structural integrity. You won't get that from Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Offering the fastest turnaround time in the business on metal building orders, heavy-duty, bulky metal, steel, pipe, and more. And they'll deliver it to the site you need and help you unload it as well. In fact, not help you, they will unload it for you. Pipe inventory, of course, many options on building a nice fence or an entryway. Any questions? It's 754-2611 in Waco. In Bryan, of course, and in Waco. You can get them at pioneerboys.com. Open Saturdays 8 till noon, pioneerboys.com. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Ryan Resch of the Phoenix Suns has been rising through the basketball ranks. He once was a graduate student at Baylor. I kind of gave you a little bit of the history. Now a part of the Phoenix Suns is basketball, the director of basketball strategy. And Ryan Resch joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio. Craig and David Smoke, Paul Catalina, Dylan Chapman here as well. Ryan, when did you first think you had a chance to be in the pros, like at the level with the NBA franchise?
Probably, well, strange story. So I started out as an undergrad manager with the Baylor basketball team, literally folding laundry and folding towels, doing laundry and rebounding for the guys in the program. And I thought that I always wanted to go be a political science professor and teach political science. So when I graduated, I left to get a PhD in that. Turns out I did not like academia, so I left, came back to the program, and made the gamble, I guess, 5 years ago to try to make it to the NBA.
So with the Suns now, what is your specific job right now with them when you're director of basketball strategy?
Yeah, right now, overseeing the general direction of our analytics group. I don't manage the day-to-day of them any longer. We have somebody doing that now, but I do oversee the kind of general direction that we're taking that group. And then also working on our scouting processes and kind of the scouting system that we're rebuilding here in Phoenix to try to create a brand new team here.
So what are some of the things that one needs to be able to do? Like, do you need to be good at math for this job? Like, what are some of the things that are kind of like on the resume of somebody in your position typically?
Yeah, I think the first thing whenever people reach out and ask me for advice, I tell them two things. The first, if you can find yourself with a real basketball team, high school, college, international, to do that, because you need that basketball experience in order to effectively do the analytics job. It's not just sitting in front of a computer and looking at spreadsheets and numbers all day. There actually is some level of X's and O's and schematical understanding in order to effectively do this work. And then the second part of it is, it's 2020. It's a highly technical workplace out there right now across the country and the world. And you need to be able to code pretty much. It's one of those things that people don't like to hear, but the truth is, if you can code in Excel and R and Python, something like that, then it is something that is necessary nowadays.
So when you became a part of Baylor's basketball program as a graduate assistant, when you started introducing, they've always trying to been ahead of the curve, and they still are. What did you do to kind of help them? And did you kind of help launch them into analytics, or was that something they were interested in and you were able to take it to another level?
Coach Drew was always very progressive in this field. Yeah, I remember when I called him after I decided to quit my PhD program and he asked me what I had learned and I told him about the statistical modeling and all that, he kind of lit up and he started talking about how he always wanted to do some of the more advanced analytics for the program. And the old video coordinator, Sam Patterson, worked in sports code. He used to code things on film, but it wasn't until we kind of got together and started doing the coding side of things and the scraping of websites and really building out and fleshing out a full analytics program for the basketball team did we actually have like a firm foundation to build on. But it all started because Coach Drew and Coach Tang were just so invested in it, and they really wanted to learn about it, and they really wanted to expand on it.
So in Moneyball and baseball, the big thing is, on base percentage, walks, OPS, and all that. What is the basketball equivalent of an OPS?
I think that's kind of evolving still. Baseball is the kind of holy grail of analytics as far as the history of it goes, and they are far more progressive, or far more established, I should say, than all of the other sports that are out there. For basketball, we were kind of moving toward whatever can best exemplify efficiency offensively and defensively. On the offensive end, it's something like true shooting percentage, which really just measures how effectively players or teams score the ball based on the number of attempts they get across all of the floor. Defensively, the field has a much harder time identifying like one single defensive metric. And that's kind of the beauty of the basketball space right now, is there is still so much research to be done.
How many bad days did you see Scott Drew have while you were around the Baylor basketball program?
Not many. To this day, he is still one of the most upbeat people that I know.
So if you think about this, you're with Phoenix. Is it Pat Connolly? Connolly? He's with Chicago. And then Jake Lindsey, we know eventually will run. His dad's a part of administration. He's going to run something. There's others as well. What does that say that you guys are spread out, even though, that there's a bunch of jobs out there, but you're spread out and making this kind of impact in different ways in the NBA? Not just with players, not just talent, but administrative people.
Right. I think obviously Coach Drew and the staff are so well known for their player development, and rightfully so. But what you don't often see is kind of the professional development that they have as well. Some of the graduate assistants that I was with there, John Jacobs, A.D. Malhotra, they're on staff now. assistant coach and director of operations, and they kind of were developed the same way that I was. And when you have kind of a culture of inclusion that Coach Drew and Coach Tang and everybody there has, the way that they develop people, it's really top notch. And the first thing I do when people ask me how I got to where I am is I talk about Baylor, because the truth is, if I wasn't invested in by them, then I would not be where I am.
So what kind of a player when it comes to analytics is Devin Booker?
A very good one. Devin he's one of the best scorers in the league, and you don't need me to tell you that. I don't need to tell our coaches that. I don't need to tell Devin that. But as far as the way that he's able to score across a variety of actions and in a variety of spots on the floor, it's incredibly unique. People refer to him as kind of a throwback scorer with his mid-range pull-up, but his ability to get to the rim and his ability to pull up from three, it's really next level, and it puts him in the top tier of scorers in the game today, and probably by the end of it, of all time.
Ryan, how much did your job change because of the bubble? Like, normally, if things were normal and as is, how different would maybe your time around the team or whatever the case may be, how different did the bubble life make your job?
Different insofar as all of the work that normally gets compressed into a few weeks or a few months has been extended out to 6-7 months. By now in a normal calendar, we would have already gone through draft workouts, pre-draft, the draft, free agency, summer league, and we'd be on vacation now, more or less. And we still haven't done any of those things. And we now have a lot of time to look at our processes, look at our systems that we have in place for all of those areas and reflect on them and see where they need to improve. But outside of just the extended amount of time and doing everything virtually, it hasn't changed too much.
I got a question, and I'm not trying to say this was any type of what you do, because I'm good in math, but I'm not the coding and all that stuff. I'm out. But back when fantasy sports started happening, before everything went online, I used to do well in basketball. And it wasn't because I had the guys who were the leading scorers. It was because I had guys that averaged a pretty nice chunk of points, but I also had the guys that might have 7 rebounds, 5. It was across the board deep, if that makes sense. It wasn't the guy who scored 30 like Nate Archibald or whoever. Is that in a way kind of what you do in a simple way, simple terms?
Yeah, it is. I don't think that that's necessarily just exclusive to analytics. That's analytics, scouting, kind of everybody who's involved in the team building process, looking for the guys who they say do the little things, the intangibles. But in effect, it's the things that get the team more possessions offensively and prevent the opponent from having more possessions, whether that's getting steals, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding. It's those areas that we look to kind of find in players. Because like I said before, you don't need me to tell you that Devin Booker is a good scorer. Mm-hmm. And anybody can see that. It's finding the guys around them to best complement the players like that do make for the best team.
So this is I know you got to go, and we do it as well. Baylor's on this great run. It's unfortunate they couldn't finish whatever they had started, and they have a tremendous team loaded up and hope to God they can play for a lot of different reasons. Right. Your thoughts about what you see, because they have absolutely taken it to another level.
No, they have. And it's, progress isn't linear. And to see the team before I got there, when I was there, and after, and to see it's kind of like watching a stock ticker, right, where it goes up and down and up and down. And to see the heights that they've reached now, I think it just speaks to the dedication that staff has, and the love that they have for the game and for the players that they bring in, and to reach the level that they are now, it's what we were working toward when I was there. And and Coach Drew will tell you, Coach Tang will tell you, all the coaches there, like after their wins, I'm still as excited as I was when I was there. And it's just so great to see that success for them.
Ryan, thank you. Good luck. Good luck with what you're doing. I know the NBA's kind of you're close here. They're in the second round of the playoffs. You can't talk too much about players and other teams, but is it exhilarating that they've reached at least they are where they are and they've been able to get it done to at least have a season it appears it's going to finish?
Yeah, I think so. I think for all of us who just every team puts so much work into building their rosters, and the coaching staff does so much work to actually coach their teams to where they are now. And to have the opportunity to finish it, something that college basketball didn't have, unfortunately, it's fulfilling for them and for us, for those that got to participate. And we're hopeful that we'll see the end of it, and trust Adam in the league office to finish it out.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate you jumping on with us. Ryan Resch was at Baylor, GA under Coach Drew and company, and now with the Phoenix Suns, director of basketball strategy. Good luck to him.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, with the Suns, I know you didn't want to bring up particular teams, and I know that's more for him. He can't really comment on other teams' players, but for the Suns, they had at least a positive ending to the season. It wasn't what they wanted it to be because they, obviously got left out, but they went into the bubble, and what did they get? They were 10-0 or something crazy like that, if I'm remembering correctly. So they went in there and made a little bit of an impact, and they've got reasons like Devin Booker to be excited about what they can maybe do.
What'd they go? They finished 8-0 in the bubble, right? Yeah.
I thought so, yeah.
The guy I was talking to, Paul, I know we have to break, David Hellman and John McClain, was Alvin Robertson. He averaged in his career 14 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, and he also probably averaged a couple of 3 steals a game. I had him, and those were the kind of guys, I had a bunch of those type players, but I didn't have the guy averaging 30 points a game. But I would win them, what you call, not the peripheral, but the ones that don't get a lot of attention type statistics.
Well, it's getting harder and harder in football because of the way they score in PPR leagues. But in baseball and basketball, you can get those guys who are all-around dudes that are not necessarily...
Like Mookie Betts.
Yes.
Yeah, great example.
Thanks for...
Great all-around 5-tool guy.
I'm going to cry. No, but guys, I would say... okay, Elvis Andrus, before he kind of tailed off, was one of those guys where he had good average. He had decent, he was going to hit 15 home runs. He's not going to hit
30 bases.
He's going to steal bases. He's going to do that. I'm in this fantasy baseball league I got roped into by a guy from high school, and I don't know who set this up, but there are very few statistics that you can hit on. The guy who set this thing up is the stats nerd beyond stats nerds. He doesn't care about stolen bases. He doesn't care about home runs. You don't get no points for that. It's basically just hits and runs.
Sounds like I would last in that league maybe a year.
Yeah, I'm glad it's only 60 games because it's already ticked me off to no end.
When we come back, David Hellman had a funny tweet. It was with all the crazy circumstances with COVID, I really haven't been thinking much further than the next day. It's still kind of hard to picture the season. Today's the first time I attempted a roster projection, and man, the defensive line and defensive back groups, good luck. So we will have him. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, next on Sikkim 365 Radio. How did you start your day? What was on your mind today to get better? What was on your mind today to become more fit? Or maybe it's you're going to do something this evening, work out, run, cardio work, weights. Every single morning at 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness's doors open. And there are 40, I think it's actually mid-40s now, 40 to 50 group exercise classes that you can be a part of. Every day there's a handful of them. Some that are in the evening, some that are very early in the morning. Boot camps on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15. Both Randall Corley and Christy London have exercise classes in which you can be a part of them. Alex, they are there for you. And then if you need a personal trainer to help you perhaps get over the hump or get started, to motivate you, to help you make sure you get up the next day when you feel like you've been beaten up by baseball bats because of lactic acid and sore because you've been inactive, that's what Christy London and Randall Corley can do for you as personal trainers. Believe me, for 7 years, there are days you don't want to get up and go in. You do it. It's a commitment. It has to be that way. Otherwise, you fall back, and you don't want to do that. So if I could just reach one of you today, you want to start working out. I want to lose 5 pounds. I want to lose an inch on what you wear as your dress or your slacks or whatever it might. Start tomorrow. Start tonight. They're open. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. David, this was earlier today about you have pretty much tried to stay day to day with all that we have with COVID. I love this tweet. So today, for the first time, I even attempted a roster projection, the defensive line and DB groups. Good luck with that. How much, this is what you do. I mean, you analyze, you critique, you look, but how much fun was it just to start that process of the roster?
I sat down with my phone and went through the roster and took a look at it. But yeah, I mean, anything that sort of feels like normalcy is fun these days. And that's kind of what I was talking about is it's so hard to think in the big picture. Obviously, things are going great for the NFL. There's no negative tests over the last 2 weeks, and it seems like they're handling it really well. And I've got a lot of optimism for the season, but oh my gosh, there's so many variables. I mean, once you start playing games and traveling, who the hell knows what's going to happen? And so it prevents you from really looking in the big picture too much. But yeah, it was cool to, you have to kind of remind yourself like, oh yeah, like they're going to cut this roster down and try to play games with it. So one way or another, they got to figure out how to do it. And when you start thinking about it, it's a talented roster. So I mean, I'm sure it'll be a challenge for them.
Okay, 2-part question. Your best guess of the defensive backs, and I'll just say the name Earl Thomas.
Well, it can never be cut and dry with the Cowboys. Like you can never just say yes or no. Even Earl Thomas, who's been linked here for like 3 years, every indication coming out of the building is that they're not very interested. But then Jerry Jones goes on the radio today and says, I haven't closed the door on that, and I have the final say. So who really knows? If I was going to make a bet on it, I don't think it's very likely, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think, the CB position it's not necessarily the most talented position group in the NFL, but it's just very deep because, I mean, you got 2 draft picks in Trayvon Diggs and Reggie Robinson. You're not going to cut 2 rookie draft picks. You've obviously got 3 established veterans in Jordan Lewis, Chio Awuzie, and Anthony Brown. They're probably not going anywhere. That's already 5. So, I mean, that's half of your depth chart right there. And then throw in guys like Darryl Worley. Didn't even mention the safeties, Xavier Woods and HaHa Clinton-Dix. So, I mean, typically NFL teams keep 8 or 9 DBs, and I think that's going to be a real challenge. I think, unless they do some cut-down day trading, I feel like a pretty good player is going to get released when this is all over.
David, Jerry Jones also discussed, I guess today, his thoughts on how they're going to handle the anthem and players potentially protesting. I haven't been able to gather much since seeing that earlier today, but has there been any type of reaction, and was there anything, I guess, that he said along those lines that was of any surprise to you?
Not really surprising. I think, his quote was something along the lines of a compromise, coming to a compromise and making, finding a way to make everybody happy, which I saw some people make the very astute observation that, protests aren't necessarily about compromise. They're about getting a reaction and sparking conversations. So, I don't know that those things line up very well with each other. My standard answer is always, what we keep hearing from Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy and even the players, Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, they keep talking about having conversations. They're gonna talk about it and they're gonna get on the same page. And obviously the season's still a few weeks away, but for their sake, I hope that they do. I hope that that's not just lip service, and they're just kind of hoping it goes away, because it's not going to go away. And I think most of us would probably rather not talk about this for one reason or another. But it's not a topic that's going to go away, for better or for worse. If they do something, it'll be a conversation. If they don't do something, it'll be a conversation. And they need to be ready for that. So I hope that they mean what they say, that they're going to sit down and sort it out. Because if they don't, they run the risk of making fools of themselves, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you never know what it could do. We've seen teams through like strikes and shortages or whatever sometimes just break up. Like the Cowboys had a team back, I think it was what was the strike year they walked across the line, 87 or whatever it was, whatever year that was. And it could split up a team if you don't have everybody at least on the same page where everyone has a voice. Let me ask you, I'm watching this video. Cowboys put this video out of CeeDee Lamb catching the ball over his shoulder, perfectly thrown by Dak, which sometimes people forget who throws the football. But what does separate him? What is it, maybe some subtle nuances or whatever of just another young, good-looking wide receiver that always looks good during training camp type moments?
Yeah, you set that up really well, because, I mean, we're all guilty of it. It's easy to fall prey to these training camp practices, especially, wide receivers arguably have the easiest job standing out. So, you're not tackling, so it's hard for running backs to really show out. Same thing, linebackers who have to make the tackles don't really get to do their job in training camp. But receivers, all you got to do is get open, and the quarterback will get you the ball, and you can look great. But, man, I think CeeDee Lamb is different. I don't want to fall to the hype too soon, but it's hard not to, because he goes out there and does it every day. That video doesn't show a lot. It's a close-up shot of the play, but you can even see he kind of dips his hip and gets inside of the coverage to prevent Daryl Worley from pressing him too hard, to keep him from getting out of his route. And then, you go back and look at some of his other plays. The guy's feet are insane. He's probably made 5, toe tap plays over the course of training camp where he has the wherewithal. Even if he has to jump for the ball, he can get his toes down right where he needs to. His body control is out of this world. And, like I said, I feel like a sucker for falling for this hype a little bit, but I've watched this guy for a week or so now, and I'm absolutely convinced he's going to be a stud at the NFL level, even after this short sample size. I mean, he just looks like the real deal.
David, I think you're only a sucker if you fall for that first preseason game, fourth quarter guy who's faster than everybody else, catches a long touchdown, and then you start going, this guy, man, he's unbelievable.
I've done that every year. I've done it for 39 years.
Yeah. That's a really good point, and I think CD's different. Obviously, I mean he's a top 20 pick for a reason. You go turn on his tape at Oklahoma and you see it, and the fact that he's doing it against NFL competition. I mean, I get it. He's not going against Richard Sherman and Tre'Davious White or some of these other All-Pro corners, but he's balling out against NFL competition. And then when you remind yourself, they're not asking this guy to be the guy. They're asking him to be a guy on an offense full of stars. And he looks like he's really up to the challenge. I mean, I had high expectations when camp started, and they're only getting higher by the day.
There's been a lot of positive reports on Aldon Smith, David, Tristan Hill. I've seen a couple of positive notes about as well. But Aldon Smith, how do you think he's fit in so far?
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing where you want to guard yourself against falling in love with training camp storylines, but he doesn't look like he's lost too many steps since 2015. And it's a little harder to judge right now. Tyron Smith, his hamstring flared up and he hasn't been doing a whole lot. But, I mean, Aldon Smith was going against Tyron for the first 2 or 3 days of training camp, and he was giving as good as he got. Mike McCarthy, I think somebody asked Mike McCarthy, what are your impressions of Aldon Smith? And he's like, who the hell is that guy at number 58? Because I want him on my defense. So, if the head coach is saying that, then I don't feel too bad for believing the hype. Because, yeah, man, he looks really impressive.
Paul?
I do have one more. David, have you got any kind of sense from Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy in this offense? They tried, and Tony Pollard's probably the example of that, the Cowboys wanted this kind of, factor back, guy, who could do a lot of things or just to kind of do wrinkles in the offense. But Jason Garrett's game plan never really led itself to that. Do you see more of that now in practice? Is it hard to tell because it's early on?
That, and that's the fun part for us that cover these practices is you got to kind of find a way to tap dance around that because the Cowboys don't want, they don't want intricate details about formations and personnel groupings and all that stuff. So, it's hard for me to just blurt out all of the stuff I'm seeing, but I will say I'm encouraged by what we have seen, whether that's, pre-snap movement, whether that's getting guys like Tony Pollard, CD Lamb, the ball in unique ways, even some tight ends, as a matter of fact. No, I mean, the ball is getting moved in very interesting ways. The only thing is, and again, for the 10th time, it goes back to do you believe the hype? Because I remember a lot of this stuff was happening in training camp last year. And then we saw it in the first 3 weeks of the season. And then, it's well documented. It kind of mysteriously disappeared after that. Hopefully the difference will be, Mike McCarthy lets that creativity shine through a little bit more because it is out there. They're doing all of the stuff we want them to do. It's just a matter of whether they take that to the game.
Thank you, David, as always. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, Mondays with us at 5 o'clock. John McClain will couple of segments from now will join us as well.
So Earl Thomas is going to be a Cowboy, guys. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I don't know. I don't know when that'll ever end. I guess when he retires.
When he retires, but there'll probably be some other safety that somebody becomes infatuated with because it was not only Earl Thomas, but who was the other one?
Jamal Adams.
Yeah, Jamal Adams. So Who's the next great safety from the state of Texas that grew up a Cowboys fan or grew up liking the Cowboys that could potentially be that guy? I'm fine with them moving on ahead with what they've got. I realize that, if you can add a name, especially to a position where you've been pretty lacking in recent years, although maybe not as bad as people have, stated it to be, but I get he's a good player, man, but there's a reason why Baltimore moved on so quickly. I just can't shake that.
Well, and look, at the end of last year, he had some question about his hustle. He gave up on a long run against the Browns. He was late for some meetings. He, and at the end, he flipped off the coach and the GM in Seattle. So, I mean, he's got a run of being disrespectful.
Sounds like a Cowboys player to me.
Well, maybe. So
not a player. Sounds like a Cowboys prospect.
Yeah. Brian just said Grant Delpit will be that next guy, although he did tear his ACL.
Baylor Athletics on Twitter just put this out here. Didn't we talk about this with Mack last week on Tuesday? Baylor Athletics announces no tailgating for 2020 season. Was it that last week?
Yeah, but
they probably need to reiterate it though to speak up louder for the people in the back. So
okay.
And I think it's important to always remember that with Twitter, we're dealing with a very small percentage of the population when you really think about it.
17% or so. Yeah.
Right. So it seems like everybody's talking about the same thing, but in reality, it's like 2 out of 10 people are talking about the same thing you think they
just
are.
Came down like
So they're just reminders and just letting people have a heads up in case they're still planning. I mean, that's disappointing, but that's absolutely not surprising.
And they could have they could have been gotten a few calls this week going, hey, I wonder when can I start going out there to tailgate guys.
Mack did.
Or you got an email, say you had one, you got an email from the tailgate guys, but Baylor hadn't sent theirs out yet. And so people start calling Baylor going, hey, I got this weird email from the tailgate guys.
The reason we brought it up a week ago is because some of those who run the one across the street are trying to brace for extra people, which would be a good thing. But then again, also with the spacing conditions, I don't know if that will ever work out at all. If it even happens, of course, that's where we have one of our broadcast trailers right across MLK near the stadium.
I just don't know, with the pregame and the tailgating, how that's all going to go. And I can certainly understand a lot of people wanting to find that out and then, obviously make their decision on what they want to do. I think it's going to be obviously a lot less crowded than normal out there. But what Mack had told us last week, I don't think he had ever said we're not doing tailgating. What he had said was that they were going to say something in the next few days. So I think they're finally just officially announcing it, because what he had said was the Baylor part of the tailgating, like they have control over that, but they could not do anything other than have some conversations with other people who are tailgating off the lot.
Which is what I brought up, and I'm glad I did now because of the press release they just sent out. David Kay did like 3 minutes ago, is bringing up the tailgate guys, because he kind of then reiterated that today. All right. Just wanted to make sure that wasn't something that we hadn't discussed sometime prior. Now, John McClain will join us at 5:30. We got to come back a couple of notes here, Paul, a couple of sports stories.
You can either do that or we can do that right now and then go to John McClain. So,
Craig, anything going on today?
Yeah, let me check some scores and we'll come back.
I almost get mixed up in so you take a break here?
Yeah.
We'll come back and update the scores. Take a little mini sliver here, Paul, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Of some news and notes. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters, Jay Arrett, 220 Lake Air Drive. There's a couple of great sponsors of this show on Lake Air Drive. One of them is Waco Custom Marketplace, and then the other is, Pickup Outfitters. They can help you decorate, add accessories to your car, truck, or SUV. Pickup Outfitters with bed covers. What you put inside your pickup truck bed is usually important, even if it's a couple of bags of trash you're taking somewhere to dump, into a dumpster or to the corner where you might throw it in a place that allows you to put trash, Or maybe you're on a ranch and you drive it around. Yeah, that's important too. But what a pickup bed cover or can really help you do is keep things that are valuable. Golf clubs, or maybe even something you bought at the store, or things that you put, for example, that could be stuff that's equipment in the back of your pickup truck. Why not cover it up? Why not make sure you have security to keep things secure from dishonest people? And every truck bed, of course, can be filled with something important if you can't put it inside the cab. Shelter from elements like dust and sun, the rain that, well, you wish there was more rain now, but the heat and the dust and the sun. Privacy, extra storage space, retractable, folding, hard and soft roll-up, one-piece lids, removable paint to match. These are bed covers you get at Pickup Outfitters, J. Ehret, and 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. CreateACommotion.com is the website. And again, don't forget, installation, lifetime installation guarantee, and free warranty assistance, professionally installed by Pickup Outfitters. You get that. 220 Lake Air Drive, CreateACommotion.com. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio, a little nuggets of sports news, scores, etc. John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, will join us in the next segment. Craig?
Yeah, tonight in the NBA, we've got the Jazz and the Nuggets. That'll be tipping off here in about 5 minutes from now, actually, on TNT. So Jazz and Nuggets, Game 5. Utah leads that series 3-1, so the Nuggets could move on tonight, and they do, of course, have a lot of the Jazz could move on tonight, and, of course, they have a lot of Baylor ties. We were mentioning Jake Lindsey, for example, just a little while ago. And also tonight, Mavs and the Clippers, game number 5. Somebody will take a series lead as they're tied up at 2. That's an 8 o'clock tip-off on TNT. Stars, obviously, won last night. They'll be back at it tomorrow against the Colorado Avalanche. But tonight in the NHL, you're going to have the Islanders not the Islanders. You're going to have the Bruins and the Lightning. That starts at 6. Boston leads that series 1-0. And the Golden Knights of Vegas versus the Vancouver Canucks, Game 2. Golden Knights lead that series 1-0. So that's what's in store for the NHL. And then baseball right now, Astros actually in action, top of the 7th inning. They're up 6-3 on the Angels. So looking to close that one out here in the next hour or so. And later on this evening at 7:05, here in about an hour and a half from now, the Rangers will be taking on the A's. So that's where we sit.
Have the Astros clinched yet?
Hey, look, the A's are pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Rangers beat them, so they're about to slide. They're 3. The Astros. Well, okay, wait a minute. So they've kind of they won like 6 or 7 straight. Now they're 3 still, but even with that, they're 3.5 back of the A's.
Yeah, the A's are good. The A's are good. Now the Angels, Rangers, and Mariners are all bad. The Angels are really bad. The Angels are probably going to sell off some parts here at the deadline in 6 days.
Nobody in baseball has a worse differential runs stat than the Rangers by far.
No, by
far.
By 7 or 8.
What are the Angels going to do? So you're going to pay Mike Trout all that money, and you've paid other guys money, but now you're going to raise the white flag? If I'm him, this is exactly why I didn't sign with him. You know what I mean? Because we're just going to start over again, or we're going to start dishing off some key pieces. Now, if I'm a member of the Rangers right now, it would kind of depend on my career, where I am as far as my future with the franchise, because if we're bad still and the season's going to be over here pretty soon anyways, but we're now looking at maybe shopping Lance Lynn, what are we doing?
Well, yeah. And Mike Minor might have been the one they shopped because he's a free agent coming up in this offseason, but he's been bad.
Yeah, well, that happens with them.
He's been
so
bad.
You have a guy that everyone would like to have. He's a good player, good pitcher. Everyone needs pitching, even the teams that don't. And he's not having a very good year, so you're not going to get what you thought you would be able to get from what he looked like last year.
But, if you're the Angels, you've got 3 guys in Mike Trout, Anthony Rendon, and Shohei Ohtani in your lineup, and Ohtani's probably not going to pitch. They're going to have to get rid of that experiment. But Ohtani, you can build a lineup around, but they have not had – they have – Dylan, name a pitcher you'd want from the Angels right now. You'd have to Oh yeah, let's just switch that. There's probably the switches off on that mic. There you go.
In the short performance of this year, Dylan Bundy. He's been unbelievable so far, but a terrible career in Baltimore prior to this year.
Yeah. So, who do you? You got one guy.
Who is that?
Dylan Bundy.
Okay. Yeah, then they got some high price. How many more years left on Pujols' contract?
Whenever he wants.
He'll be playing when he's 56.
Yeah. Whenever Albert wants to leave.
Dodgers have taken off, won 9 of 10.
Albert Pujols alone in second place in the RBI list now.
Yeah, I saw that. Who's the leader?
What?
Henry Aaron for the longest time.
Yeah.
I know that's probably been changed.
Technically, Babe Ruth is second, but RBIs weren't an official stat until 1920, so it's not credited.
Okay.
Who's number one?
Hank Aaron.
That's what I thought.
It's Hank Aaron,
So
Albert Pujols, but it should be Hank Aaron.
What does
Babe
that
Ruth,
say
Albert
that
Pujols.
Aaron's consistency, and I don't think he ever hit more than like 44 home runs in a year, but he was so consistent, and he drove runs, obviously drove in a bunch of runs, that even after the steroid era, which was, a lot of solo, even after all of that, all of everything we see, the ball flying out left and right, Henry Aaron still has the record for most runs batted in a career.
It's unbelievable. He was so darn. He was so good.
Where is he now all time? Where are Ruth and Aaron? Like, are they fifth and sixth? Are they still in the top five for home runs in a career?
Aaron's 2 and Ruth's 3.
So they're still the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Bonds, Aaron, and Ruth.
And then A-Rod, yeah.
But, I think for someone, okay, there have been, movies made about a lot of people. There's never been one made about Hank Aaron.
Had the greatest honor ever to have him on the show back in Tyler.
And I think part of that is that he's a pretty quiet guy overall and not very, but especially the year he won, he got the home run crown, what he went through with people not wanting to have it for, one big reason, but it just blew my mind that, what he went through and how to get and now that happened to Roger. Look, that happened to Roger Maris too, and he was a white guy.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth held this special place for this generation of people.
He had
Some of
everyone
it
in
was
a trance.
for Hank Aaron, it was a lot of racism, but it was also the Babe Ruth thing. For Roger Maris, it was this guy doesn't deserve to break a Babe Ruth's record
Because he wasn't Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
if it would have
exactly.
been Mickey Mantle, it would have been different.
Yeah.
But Maris was kind of like, he wasn't, if Mantle had broken the record, then he wouldn't have faced the same things as Maris.
And he might have had he not gotten a quack doctor give him a shot in his hip.
Yeah.
Just a testament to how ahead of his times Babe Ruth was. I saw a stat the other day. When he hit his 500th home run, second place on the all-time home run list was Rogers Hornsby with 293.
Crazy. I'd love to have gone out one night with Babe Ruth, but I never would have survived that one night.
Mickey Mantle.
Or Mickey Mantle. No, you're exactly right.
How many times did Babe Ruth miss a game because he had to go see the doctor?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. For headaches?
Or for other things.
So from the 254, get E.T. Earl Thomas for cheap because he still got paid on the way out. Interesting. Guess we shall see then. Not sure how that looks for the Ravens organization, though. The Ravens organization has been one of the more stable. Doesn't mean they haven't had ups and downs. They had Joey Flacco get bad, kind of fade. And what they do, they found Lamar Jackson. Now, how long his success lasts doesn't mean he won't end up in the RG3 factor.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, he might be there for like how everyone thought with Robert would be for 10 years. But they don't mess around. That doesn't mean they don't have knuckleheads.
No.
They have knuckleheads. They just somehow manage to keep them all in line at the same time, whereas no one else can barely keep like one or two.
Absolutely.
And they've got like every dude with a red flag is like Baltimore's like, come on in, because they'll police themselves, and they're not going to tolerate any of that BS. And so that's why Earl Thomas, as big as he is, he could walk into the Cowboys locker room or most other locker rooms and probably pull some of the stuff he's pulling, and may have a guy or two that say something about it. But that Ravens locker room, that whole team's going to be on you, and they're going to let management know, like, hey, he doesn't fit in here, and you're going to see what you saw. Earl Thomas on his way out.
Yeah, he started getting a little bit, I know the Cowboys fans love the flirtation. Imagine if that would have been one of your players. When we come back, John McClain of the Houston Chronicle on Sikkim 365 Radio.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
The biggest, the baddest, and proven to be the best. Ram is back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Now, get the Ram you've been waiting for less from your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels. A new loaded-up 2020 Ram 1500 Longhorn 4x4. Now with a whopping $12,000 off. And first responders receive an additional $500. Big summer clearance event savings from the Ram leader, Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Ask for details. All offers with approved credit.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't believe it's true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio poll is brought to you by Pickup Outfitters, where everything purchased and installed comes with our famous lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance. 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, he is a Hall of Famer, and we discussed a lot of that with him last week with Drew Pearson, Tom Flores. And now, a former Steelers scout, John McClain, Hall of Fame writer from the Houston Chronicle, Baylor alum, a Waco, Texas alum as well. So none of Pittsburgh is now going to be a senior committee invitee as well. Is that kind of locked in as well, John?
Yeah, all those are locked in. Sports writer for a black newspaper in Pittsburgh. And he used to write about players from the predominantly black colleges. And so the Rooney family read what he wrote, and they knew him because he covered them. And they thought, well, you know what? This guy seems to know a whole lot about those players at those schools. Let's hire him as a part-time scout. They did. He did such a good job, hired him full-time. He stayed there for over 40 years and got 6 Super Bowl rings.
John, Earl Thomas got his way out of Baltimore by punching a teammate in the face and some other things. How do